Do you do the slate thing? Yeah, go ahead.
You do it. Be my guest.
And action.
Hold on.
It's been a minute. I'm stepping on your cord.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it around here so I can...
I don't have any shoes on right now.
I don't think that's necessary.
Can we reveal that to the audience?
Oh,
I'm not wearing no shoes.
Okay. We need to do this.
Sorry, Martine.
Okay, roll the shoulders. Gotta do that.
Is this pre-podcast yoga?
Yeah. Now you gotta shake.
Leave all this in.
Shimmy shake. And now do the chicken. Funky chicken.
Why do you do that?
I don't know. I've never done it before, but you're just here and I can tell you what to do. Listen, this is my podcast. Okay. This is what you're going to do.
Ma'am.
This is the ritual.
Uh-huh.
All right.
If I knew you were in here doing chicken neck, I would have been on a lot sooner.
Welcome to Empowered Now. I'm your host, Colette Kati. Join me as we talk all things to uplift, encourage, teach, inspire, and empower you to see your best self, to live your best life, and to thrive wherever you are. And we'll keep moving forward from that. Okay. Welcome. We have a special guest on the podcast today, my husband, Shay Carl.
What an honor.
Yes. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you.
We're like a little rusty. We haven't done a podcast for a while. Do you feel rusty?
I feel a lot of things. Rusty could be one. I feel excited. I'm like, it's like riding a bike. I love the sound of my own voice. I'm like, hey, see what else? Let's talk about Justin Bieber coming up in the next hour. We have free tickets to next week's concert. No.
That was one of the jobs he had. I talked about it in the last podcast. He was a radio DJ.
You did?
So, yeah. Well, I talked about the different jobs that we had.
Lots.
Don't know if I said that one specifically, but lots of jobs.
Lots of jobs.
So I've been wanting to have Shay on the podcast for a long time. Since the idea of podcasting, having my own podcast came to me, I thought this would be fun to have you as a guest.
I think I was nervous. We've talked about it a lot.
Yeah. We've actually scheduled it a few times and then it's like, never mind.
You've asked me many times, you want a podcast today? I'm like, and then I just run out of the room.
Story checks out. That's pretty accurate.
Sorry. I had a rust in my throat.
I feel like this is the whole podcast. We're just going to giggle at each other and just have weird banter.
Well, we've said that, like when we're in the car just talking, sometimes our conversations are hilarious. And I'm like, that's like the Seinfeld. This is the video.
The show.
This is the show.
This is the show.
It's not a script or, it's just like two people having a conversation. That's what a podcast is. Great. And then you get in the deep things in the conversation, but there's a lot of little fun moments. Go ahead. I don't know what.
Hi. It's true.
Did we start? Are we started?
Yes,
we're officially started.
This is the show.
Oh, okay.
This is the podcast.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very proud of you. Colette's been talking about getting this podcast off the ground for a long time. And what episode is this?
Well, we're going to know when we upload it.
We'll know, but this is an episode.
I think it's 4 or 5.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to what this lady has to say because she is wise beyond her years.
Well, that's quite the honor. Thanks, babe.
You're welcome.
So I struggled with where to start because there's so much that we could talk about. And I want it to be a little bit more organic where we just kind of let ourselves be real and talk about what's on our hearts and minds. Mm-hmm. So I toyed with talking about our relationship because I know I mentioned that we had a really incredible story of how we came together in our relationship and building what we have built and creating what we've created, not just our children, but in life, in business, in relationship. We have been through a lot. Mm-hmm. We have created a lot together and separately.
Yeah.
And I feel in true honoring, and that's kind of been the theme in the last couple episodes of just honoring every version of ourselves. And so maybe that's what this is going to feel more like. Like today we're honoring all the versions of ourselves by being here and just chatting about where we are today.
What if you don't like some of the versions of yourself? You still have to honor that version?
You don't have to do anything.
Oh, okay.
That's the joy.
Well, I always think it's like you are at where you are at in life because of all of your past selves, you know, and to not be cringe and think, oh, I hate that I did that or said that or was like that, you know, because you learn and you grow, and, you know, those are just parts of you.
Yeah.
Good or bad, you know.
It's a difficult thing to do because we often will look back and think, oh, I shouldn't have said that or I shouldn't have done that. And we do that in real time too. We'll have a conversation and then later we'll replay the conversation and think, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. Why did I say that? Why did I do that? And so I talked about in a previous podcast, telling your story, sitting down and writing your story like I was doing in episode 2, I believe, started to tell the story. There's something that happens when you tell your story, whether it's to yourself or to somebody else, where you get to see all the versions of yourself and you get to see the puzzle piece kind of come together.
Were you specifically saying writing out your story or just in general, like, you know, in a podcast form? Because I think writing helps your brain process what you want to say, because, you know, you're putting the words on the paper and it's slower than speaking. And so as you're writing, you're kind of thinking about what you just thought or wrote. And then I think you can be more succinct when you write. And you're great at that. Colette journals. She has libraries of journals.
I have many books.
Many books.
Boo.
How many journals do you think you have?
I think I counted 11 last time.
I have like 4 that is like the first page. Like I'll get a new journal. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to write in my journal. And then I'll find it 3 years later. And it's like, I have 1 page that I've written. I think I have like 3 or 4 of those.
I love finding those.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's true. When you put it pen to paper, when you are, what's the word, retrospective or introspective about your life. And
introspectively retrospective.
Yes.
Do that.
Do that. Something happens where you can bring a little bit more acceptance to the parts of you. I don't know. It's an opportunity. That's one of the things that I talk about a lot in coaching, that we kind of go through stages. And the first one is awareness. When you are aware of where you are and maybe what you want to change, but more importantly, like being aware of exactly where you are and bringing acceptance and compassion to that. There's so much power when we allow ourselves to be exactly who we are and where we are. It's hard to do.
Yeah, that's always been a back and forth thing for me, where it's like, this is just who I am. You know, like, do you want to accept that that's just who you are? Like allowing yourself to be who you are. But what if you don't love some things about the way you are? You want to change. So how can you be yourself and let me be me, but at the same time knowing that you want to grow from who you are, you know? And that always kind of felt like this juggling act of like, well, I just want to be me. It's like, well, I don't love everything about me. You know, is that just me forever? Can those things change? And I think, you know, telling your story or writing in a journal, things like that, help you process and help you decide, who do I really want to be? Like in my heart of hearts, not who I want other people to perceive me as. And I told this to the kids all the time, because I would always be like, listen, you guys are going to grow up and you're not going to care what me or mom say. You're not going to care what anybody says. Like, you have to decide for you in your heart of hearts, what kind of person do you want to be? Not just so you can put on a show and so people like you, but really get down into your heart chakra. That's what you call it. Down into the heart chakra. Lucky. That's from Indiana Jones. But to really have that sincere devil's advocate moment with yourself and just say like, okay, self, who do I want to become? Who am I? And being honest with who that is and honoring, you know, the good parts about it, but then saying, you know, I really would like to work on this or change this.
Right. Well, that's where the yes and is. It's like, do I just accept, like you said earlier, do I just accept that this is who I am? Or do I try to become more? Or I think that is the misconception that people have, is that when they reject who they are, say you're a certain way and you're like, well, this is just who I am, but you're not really happy with who that person is. So like the ego's trick, or it's the brain thinks that if you reject that or push it away, that's your effort to change it. Like it thinks this needs to be fixed, so I'm going to push it away. I'm going to get rid of it. But ironically,
ignore it.
Is you embrace it and just see like, okay, this is who I am. Okay. You know, like there's this settling, this like acceptance.
Give it
like
space.
Surrendering. Yeah. Giving it space to be, okay, this is who I am. And this is what I'm being, or this is what I'm choosing. Because that's the other thing is when we judge something or we identify or over-identify with it, we're stuck with it.
Like what? Like what specific thing do you not like about yourself that you want to change?
So I'm late all the time. I'm late.
I was going to bring that up because you have been making an effort to be on time more. And that's something that we have maybe quarreled about a time or two. To put it nicely.
We have maybe perhaps a bit quarreled. We've had a tiny quarry around this issue.
Because my grandpa and my dad are both military men, and being on time was very, very important.
Right.
And I just think it's polite to be on time because it's rude to show up late and everybody's like in a class or in a setting, and then you just think, oh, your time isn't important to me. Mm-hmm. I'll get here when I get here. Fashionably late. Parties are different. Just depends.
I love that you threw that. Parties are different.
Yeah.
Unless it's a surprise party, you better be there
on time
when they tell you to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Because that could be disastrous.
That's true. We just had a surprise party for our baby daughter, Amy.
Yes,
17.
we did.
Is that like the first surprise party we've ever thrown? I think it was.
I think maybe official.
That was like an official, like 60 people waiting in the room. They're coming.
Maybe it is.
Cameras out. And she was genuinely surprised. She walked in and was like, and we were like, we did it.
Yes.
That was a horrible high five.
That's okay. I was trying not to be loud in the camera.
Yeah. High five. But that was fun.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I feel like I threw you a surprise party once, didn't I?
Yes, at the Whaler in Venice Beach.
Yes.
That was a big surprise because that was like the who's who of YouTube was there. Mm-hmm. That was my 30th birthday. I think it might
35th.
35th. Maybe
was
35th.
It your 30th?
I can't remember. See how old we are?
Wow, we just don't even know. 5 years just goes by like that.
So that would have been 14 years ago if it was my 30th. Anyways, what were we talking about? Things you want to change about yourself.
Yes. So I'm late all the time. Bringing it back to the example. And one of the things, I don't like that about myself. And I have done different things to try to change it. But for some reason, there's something in my brain that is just like, you have more time. You have more time. And I'm trying to do all the things and I don't have more time. And I can't do all the things and still be on time. So one thing about changing something or acknowledging something, I think there was a time where I just defended. It was like, that's who I am. I'm defending this, right? I'm just going to push back against anybody that disagrees with me being late or is upset at me for being late or whatever. And to me, that is when you are judging or rejecting a part of yourself. So I'm judging the part that I'm late, but instead of, because there's shame around it, it's like I have to push that shame off and just be like, no, I'm fine. This is just who I am, right? So there's a defense that comes up when there's a judgment about that.
That's a great way to explain it, defending. Mm-hmm. Or like, I'm doing my best, where it's like, yeah, I mean, I like that explanation. And especially with a specific example of like being late or whatever it is for you, where, yeah, you get defensive about it. And
right.
So why can't you just accept me for who I am?
And then that is rude. Because it's like, I'm not really acknowledging, you know what, this is a problem. I would like to change it. I'm going to genuinely make steps to change it because I can't handle that judgment. Like there was a time where it was very much like, fine, well, this is just, I'm just late. It's fine. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Everybody can handle it, which, isn't very responsible or respectful in my opinion.
And those were the spoken about quarrels that we had.
Right? And so what I'm saying is if you accept a part of yourself, say you don't like it, right? But I'm going to accept like, I am late. This is not who I am. It's just a habit that I have that I would like to change. And that also the words that you say about it are different. Like if people say, this is who I am, this is part of my personality, you're making it part of you. And so who wants to really get rid of a part of themselves?
I want to get rid of about 20 to 30 parts of myself.
But I'm just saying, if it's a habit, that's a little bit easier to take as like, okay, I could change this habit. There's like possibility. You're leaving space for, oh, this is just a pattern or a habit that I've developed. It's not who I am. Mm-hmm. I can change. Because when we make it who we are, it makes it difficult.
These are the 20, 30 things I want to get rid of.
Just love them, baby.
Right around this section.
Acceptance.
See, that's, for me, it's like I used to, I ate and craved exercise, running. I did 4 marathons, 100-mile bike race, and now I've slipped out of it, and it drives me crazy because I remember if I didn't work out or didn't go for a run or whatever, I'd feel horrible. Like I didn't get that endorphin spike. Mm-hmm. And now I've gotten used to not having it, and that getting back into it's so much harder.
Right.
But you're doing great. You look great.
Thank you.
Active Nancy over here. What?
That's me. My name's Nancy. I'm active.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's fine. We're on the podcast. Okay. We can say whatever we want.
I haven't eaten today, but I don't look like I need to eat. Shame. Just see the comments. Yeah, you should go without a few more meals, fatty.
See, that's one of the hard things about being online. Is there are a lot of people that will tell you exactly what you don't like about yourself. They'll remind you how crappy you are.
Just ask somebody to roast you and you will find a list of things that you can possibly change about yourself.
Right. But from the place of acceptance, if you can come to that place, and that's something that I work with clients on all the time, and that I've done a lot of work with myself around, it's just coming to that place of acceptance of, okay, this is where I'm at. This is a thing about myself. And some things are, patterns or habits that we can change, but some things are genuinely like ourselves that we still reject, or, oh, I should look like this girl, or I should be as funny as this girl, or whatever. Like we start thinking that we need to be a certain way. But as we come back to ourselves through like self-love, self-acceptance, there's so many different ways. But it opens the door to actually being able to make choices, to changing the things that you want to change, instead of trying to imagine yourself or like changing the things that aren't actually in your power or that you don't actually need to change. Your brain just says you need to change it because you want to be a certain way. I don't know. Now I feel like I'm getting a little wordy, but does that make sense?
Abstract. Yeah. I just was thinking of things that, I've tried to change about myself. And I think one of them is learning when to shut up. I have struggled with that. I always want to have something to say. And like in conversations and stuff. And then you start to see it, like we have family and friends where like you're in a conversation and they just like interrupt you and just start talking. I know I've done that a lot in the past. Like I watch some of our old podcasts or like our old vlogs and I'm like, Shay, shut up. It's like, I'm like, no.
But don't you see that as a sign of growth already? Because to me, you're really good at doing that with me. I've
learned. Yeah. I think we have good conversation. I think that's, very important to any relationship that wants to succeed is that you have to be able to get your thoughts across and allow the other person space. And one thing also that I was thinking about is one thing that's helped, I think, in our relationship. You are so freaking hot. Stop looking at me like that.
That was loud. That was really loud. Sorry.
Realizing that our brains work differently.
Right.
Because I'll say something and I'm like, how did you get that from what I said? And it's just, and then you've done a good job, I think, of like, well, because when you say this, I think this. And I'm like, why would you think, like, I don't understand how logically you could come to that stance based off of, the information I gave you. I'm trying to think of an example, but just realizing that like her brain works way different than mine.
Right.
And instead of getting frustrated and being like, why can't you just, it's like, well, our brains work different. And she vice versa with me too. It was like, why would you think that way?
Right. Right. And it's taken some time that was another thing that I thought would be fun for us to talk about. Like, I think when we first got married, and I definitely felt this way, like, oh, he completes me, whatever that movie is, Jerry Maguire, whatever, you complete me. It's like we imagined ourselves as two halves, and it's like we're coming together and now we're a whole. But I think through so much that we've been through in life, I see it now differently to where we're two wholes, and we come together to synergize and create something that's almost greater than the sum of our parts.
1 + 1 = 4.
Right.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about that is that I know I mentioned this in the last podcast, that I feel like many of the things that we've been through have forced us to separate that halves.
Yeah.
And then create the wholes that we are, like come back to ourselves and to our wholeness. And that has made our relationship now so much more rich.
Yeah. I think that happens in a lot of relationships where at the first you're kind of in the honeymoon stage, and it's like you could not imagine life without that person. Like if that person was gone and you lost that person, your life would crumble. You know, like all the walls would come tumbling down, and the walls came tumbling down to the ground. But being able to be like, okay, well, if I didn't have this person, because we got close to that, in all honesty, we were very close to divorce, and I that was really hard for me because I was like, I cannot imagine being with anybody else. Like, I'm sure I could find somebody else, but that was mind breaking, numbing. Like that was hard for me. Then to be able to realize, like, okay, well, you know, I can survive. I can be Shay without Colette, and I don't need her to complete me. You know, but that's when the relationship really flourishes, when both people realize that, and they're their own solitary, strong person that could go out and be with anybody, but then we choose to be together.
Right.
Because ultimately that's, you know, who I want to be with is you.
Right.
Will you marry me?
Yes, absolutely. And I feel the same way. I feel like it almost took us getting to that point to really own our own power almost. It's like I felt like I finally got to the point where I don't need you, and I don't need you to be a certain thing or person or way in order for me to be okay. And when I was okay on my own, that's when I was more empowered to actually see, like, what do I actually want to choose? And that brings back to that acceptance piece that I was talking about. When you can fully accept somebody the way they are, it's hard to do that if you can't do it for yourself. So it's like this beautiful circle of I accept me, I accept you, and we're fine exactly the way we are. And that's when you get to choose, like, now what do we want to create together or not together? Like, that's okay too. Some people, that's their path, is to end up not together. But I think what I am trying to say, and what I really want to bring it home with, is becoming empowered within who you are, and creating that wholeness within you is going to only strengthen your relationships.
And not only do you have to, you know, be your whole you have to let them be their whole them.
Yes.
That's where you have to get rid of codependency. Because I remember that was hard for me too. Like,
Right.
you're doing yoga and you're going to Al-Anon and you're meeting all these new people. And I'm like, what if she falls in love with somebody else? And, you know, like, you're going to the gym, and like that kind of stuff was hard for me because I got nervous or like jealous, where it's like, well, what is she doing? Why I'm not there? You know, like that made me worried. And I really feel like I have grown in that way, where it's like, you're just off doing your own stuff. And I'm like, I know where she's at. She's, you know, at her yoga class, or she's at whatever, and allowing you that space, you know? So that's another part of being your whole you, but also letting your partner be their whole them without you being this codependent, nagging jerk that's always like, what are you doing? Who are you with? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Right. And that also comes back to, if you're feeling whole within yourself, then you don't necessarily need that to change.
Right.
Right.
Because then it's like, well, then that comes too, like, if you really, really love them, it's like, if they found somebody else that they love more, it's like, you'd be happy for them. Like, you'd be happy for your friend that broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend and found somebody that they loved more. Like, if you really care for that person, then you would be happy for them.
Right.
but there's no one else out there better.
I was going to say that's Byron Katie's work. She's
really?
Incredible. Yeah. The loving what is.
Oh yeah.
You know, being able to fully accept exactly what is. It's powerful. And I know some of these things we're saying, you might be like, what?
What?
Is this recording?
It is. I was watching. I looked over too. We're good.
I think I'm going to check the camera real quick too. Pause.
Do you pause the audio or leave it?
I'm just going to leave it on.
Should I be telling some funny jokes while you're doing that?
I'm just going to see where we're at here. Okay, we're at 28 minutes.
Are you serious? Mm-hmm. That's gone by fast.
So let's I'm going to do a close and then we're just going to do part 2.
It's over?
No, it's not over. It's never over.
I was just getting warmed up. I wanted to say some more stuff. Why is it only 30 minutes? Stop it. Knock it off.
Stop rejecting that part of yourself, Shay.
I can't. I want to talk longer.
Oh my gosh, I love you.
I don't know.
You're reminding me of a character on Inside Out, and I can't figure out who it was.
Sadness?
Maybe.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I can't. Okay, so Shay's not going anywhere. I'm going to make him do a second episode with me. You will stay.
That's not my contract. Stay. I'm out of here.
So we're going to do a part 2 of this episode. But to round it out, what would you want to tell those that are listening?
Please subscribe. It's a journey, and things like this are helpful. Listening to podcasts, books, expanding your horizons, your mind, information from different people. Just, you could tell yourself, I'm not going to change, but at least I'm going to listen to some stuff on change, or, whatever it is. Really, just making an effort to be better. And that can be discouraging because it's there's, if you're always I want to be better, and then you get better, it's now I have to be better than that. It's it almost seems like this infinite loop of you're never going to be satisfied. Mm-hmm. But enjoying the moment is, I think, paramount in fighting depression. Being grateful and being in the moment helps battle anxiety, depression, seeing the things that you have that you maybe take for granted and being it is such a nice day today. Just the smallest simple things. This is a fine linen tablecloth that is white and pressed. And just look at the intricacy of these doilies. And just appreciating little things like that. It sounds like I'm stoned. Whoa, look at that.
Which you can see if you're watching the YouTube version of this, just so you know.
But yeah, living in the moment and realizing that we are so blessed. I mean, if you have a phone, if you have an internet connection, if you have running water, if you can go push a button and the toilet flushes, we don't realize how incredibly blessed we are in, majority of, all of, anyways.
Yeah.
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 That's what I say, I guess.
Shay has a lot of life wisdom, and I feel like a 30-minute podcast is just going to scratch the surface of what we want to share with you guys. So please just take whatever bites are sticking in your brain right now and then come back and listen to more, because we have a lot more to come. And I'm so grateful that you are here with me today.
Yes.
We're going to stay on and do the second episode. But I just want to say, remember, this is Empowered Now. So if anything you heard today resonates with you, please keep coming back. Because we kind of talked about, we scratched the surface of some really deep topics today, talking about codependency, talking about, living as your individual whole person. And it's been really powerful to have or still be going through this journey with you. And I really feel like we wouldn't be where we are today without some of these things. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to start this podcast, is to help share the love. Because when I was struggling and I started learning some of these topics and concepts, it was so foreign to me that I did not understand a lot of the things that I was learning, but it felt like there was light at the end of a tunnel if I kept learning about it and I kept practicing it. So if you're feeling like this, you're feeling some of the things we're talking about are what in the world, I just invite you to keep coming back. And
I think about,
we're going to have fun.
when we were going through all that, the therapy and the AA meetings, and I'm so glad to be past that time. I'm grateful for it, but that was difficult. And sometimes you just have to admit it's going to be hard.
It's going
to take a long time. You're going to have to be persistent. It is the cliches of life. Work hard over a long period of time, never give up, and you'll succeed. And you'll look back and be like, oh, I did it. That road has passed me. And then that's when you gain momentum.
Yeah.
You get your motivation because of, the things that you've achieved.
Right. Yeah. And that's one thing I did want to say, because you were talking about, not needing me to do a certain thing so that you could be happy, like allowing me space to be me and to have my life and to do the things that I wanted to. Not that he was trying to stop me, but like our insecurities are like, oh no, what are they doing? Like you start to feel that way. And I remember feeling that way with you. And I'm glad that you brought up AA and Al-Anon, because I think we'll talk more about that in the next episode, if that's cool with you.
You keep touching me. I like it.
Well, I like you. Because I recognized at one point.
You're touching me again. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I need you to stay here. That's why. Don't move. Okay, I'll put my hands over here. So I realized at one point, because that's what I needed. In my head, if you stop drinking, all of this is going to go away.
Yeah.
Right? If you stop drinking, then I'm going to be okay.
Right.
Or if you're happy, then I'm going to be happy. Like it was that simple, and it was unconscious. It wasn't completely conscious to me that I was doing that, but it was from a pattern that I had developed from a very young age. It didn't even have anything to do with him. And so, yeah, I'm excited to talk more about it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thumbs up, like, subscribe, notification bell on.
Yes. And episodes every week. I don't know if I mentioned that, but episodes every week. So I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
We'll see you next week.
I'll be here.
Bye.
Do I have to change my shirt?
Should we?
No.
They already know we're doing it.
Tune in
right
next
now.
week to see if we changed our shirts. We should switch shirts. I'll wear yours and you wear mine.
Okay, I'm down.
Okay. Cut the cameras.
Okay, bye. Thanks for watching Empowered Now. If anything you heard today resonated with you and you want more, please like and subscribe so that you won't miss an upload. You can also follow me on social media at Colette Kati. And if you're interested in working with me more closely through coaching or other opportunities, go to my website, colettekati.com. It is my hope that you will continue to come back and experience for yourself the benefits of choosing an empowered life. Your feedback and your experience are very important to me, so please take a moment to connect with me in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on today's episode, ideas for future topics, and ideas for guests that you would like to see. And as always, thanks for your time, support, and your courage to live empowered now.